Hello everyone and welcome to Farming Simulator 19. I'm Andy and this is the Let's Play on the Björktorps Gård. And I'm pretty much continuing where I left off in the last episode, so if you saw that, this is the end, or where I left off at that point. So I'll finish that episode with talking about thanking everyone for the feedback, and I want to start this one by doing it because I'm not sure people actually watched my episodes to the end. So I want to say thank you to David and Luke and I'm gonna forget everyone, please. Thank you everyone for giving me feedback. I really do appreciate the feedback. Oh, but this is there's quite a big difference between certain groups of people that like certain groups of certain games. People that like Farming Simulator are usually really kind in their feedback, which is interesting. Now, I really like that. It's very nice to hear and I do appreciate it. But people that do Flight Simulator are not, well, sometimes they're really kind, but there's a lot of people that are really rude. And it gotten to the point that I actually I have a bunch of explain videos or episodes out of reviews and stuff, and I never claimed to be a pilot or professional in any way, so I keep saying that, I'm writing that, everything, and I'm not a professional. I never claimed to be a pilot or having knowledge of that. I'm just doing it the way I'm doing it. And people can't handle that. There's so many people that are so rude in their comments on the Flight Simulator episodes. Not so much FS 2004. There seems to be quick difference there. Those people seem to be pretty kind in their comments. But people that are commenting on my explain videos are sometimes so rude, so it has gotten to the point where I actually turned off the ability to comment. I'm not putting... I removed all the comments, not removed. When I removed the possibility to make comments on the video, they got removed by themselves, so sorry about that. Even some nice ones were removed. But the thing is, so the explain videos, they're out now, and will be out in the future. There won't be any possibility to put a comment in, and the reason why that is that I got so sad by people being so rude. And I'm not a professional pilot, and I'm not editing this in any way, and I'm not claiming to be doing stuff in advance. I'm not a professional at this. I'm just doing it because it's fun. And some of the comments that people put there are so rude, and they just made me so truly and honestly sad. And that's not why I'm doing it. I'm not doing this because I want to be sad. I'm doing this because I think it's fun and nice. So for a long time, like a year or so, a year and a half, I've been, and if someone put a rude comment, I simply thank them for the feedback and wish them a good day and stuff. Sometimes just ask them if there was something I could do better, and because I want criticism. I'm not against criticism. I really want good feedback. I want to be better and stuff, but within reason. I can't do magic. I have the amount of time I have, and I have the setup I have and everything. But anyway, so I did. For a long time, I did answer the comments. I answered all the comments, and some people would just ignore them, which I could have. But I answered them and asked for constructive feedback if they had some, and sometimes they did. Some people actually apologized. It's like, oh, sorry, I came off really harsh. But this is the thing that bugs me, which is really nice. It was sometimes I got some really good feedback, even from the people that started out really rude. So, and that's why I sort of kept on keeping the possibility of making comments because those people did truly help me try to get it a little bit better, even though I still have. I can't do magic. I have the See, this is 8. So even I can't do magic. I mean, I can't. And if I don't have the time to do it, I don't have the time to do it. If I don't have knowledge to do stuff differently, I don't have the knowledge to do stuff differently. So we couldn't really change that too much. But I did answer them, and I got sometimes good feedback in return, even from the people that were kind of rude in the beginning. So I kept doing that. But some of the comments I got lately were so rude, and even though I answered them nicely, I didn't get any more response. Even if I asked for criticism, good criticism, I didn't get any of that. It was like someone who just wanted to throw dirt or have a go at me. And that just made me really sad. So I stopped. I removed the possibility to make comments on my Explain 11 videos. Just because of that. I'm going to keep that on this, of course, because for some reason there's a difference between people doing Explain. I don't know if this I need to fertilize this one too. I don't know why there's a difference, but there is a difference between people who are doing commenting on farming simulator videos for some reason. Maybe it's just a smaller amount of people. Maybe this is just more huge, because some of them might be more actually popular videos. If you look at the amounts of views they have are Explain videos. So I'm guessing there's more people playing Explain videos. So statistically, there should be more people that are a little bit ruder than others. When it comes to the possibility of running across one of those people who might be having a bad day or wherever they're doing, is probably greater, because there's a large number of people paying Explain maybe than compared to Farming Simulator. I'm not sure about that. I'm just guessing here. But it's still an interesting difference. I mean, I think it could explain some of the differences, but I'm not sure it would explain all of the differences and why there's such a big difference between Farming Simulator comments and Explain 11 comments. Generally, most comments I get in Farming Simulator, but that's because I have a small group of followers who I really appreciate. Most of those are really nice and constructive, and giving me tips about things and pointing me in direction of new mods and that sort of stuff, which I really appreciate. Even though I don't have the time to check everything out, which I wish I could, but I don't. This is gonna be weird. See how it handles this turn. If it, well, yeah, it did. That's funny. Maybe not. Maybe it's gonna go into loop here. Yeah, it did. No, maybe it sorted itself out. Maybe it's like thinking, where am I going? No, come on. If you just drive straight here, drive straight. I'm curious if it will figure itself out. It did, maybe. Okay, come on, go now, go. Oh, not that way. It didn't. I had to intervene here. Sorry. So I just got so sad by the comments. Some of the comments, not all, but some of the comments were not. I mean, if you watch a video and you don't find it interesting, just stop watching it, would be my suggestion. But some people get so, I don't know, frustrated or provoked. I'm thinking they get provoked by my videos for some reason. And they got so provoked by my videos that they had to write a comment. And I had a bunch of people writing that, oh, this is, this is like total waste of 30 minutes of my life. I started watching this video because I wanted to see this, and then you're so bad at this and you crap. And that's fair enough. I never claimed to be good at it, but if you don't want to watch it, just don't watch it. Put a thumbs down, or write something constructive. I think you didn't know your stuff, or it took too long and needed editing or something. I mean, if I'm gonna I give a lot of constructive criticism of work. And I say like, well, this you did good, and you did this good, and this good. You might have changed this. I would change this way, but that's up to you. I don't know your possibilities of doing that. I would do it this way, or maybe this way, and this is good. This is really good. You could keep this way. I mean, I always try to look at what doesn't work and give constructive criticism, why I didn't think it worked, and what I thought the problem was. But I also always give positive feedback when it comes to criticism, because people need that too. So, which maybe it's the internet thing. Maybe people on the internet, they think they can just express themselves in any other way, and I think that's probably a distinct possibility, because if you look at the way actually some people respond when you thank them for the feedback, even if they give crappy, non-constructive and rude feedback, if you just, that's why I kept going for so long, you just say, oh, thank you for the feedback, was it something I could have done, in what way could I changed it, and some people go like, oh, maybe I was too harsh against him, maybe I should just, and I say that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but I thought this was a problem. So a lot of people have that in them, but some people have a hard time expressing it at the moment, and maybe that has to do with the internet and being anonymous in that way, and you can just you say stuff to people that you wouldn't say if you met them. People sitting across me at the table wouldn't say those things. They'd write that to me on my YouTube channel. Så. Ja, Hannes.
Kan jag ha shorts idag?
Ja, jag tror det. Absolut. Det känns som det kommer bli varmt. That was my son, by the way. That's one of the things I need to be better at my parenting. Being constructive in criticism. I try to be it. Sometimes you get so fed up, you just go like, do this, and he goes like, why you should do this, and because I said so. Every parents know this. Sometimes you don't have. We try to be constructive, even in criticism and for our children, but sometimes you don't have the energy to do it. And maybe that's what's happening on the internet. Maybe I run across a lot of people paying explainers, go like, oh, I don't have the energy to be constructive, so I just blurt out whatever my feelings are currently. I don't know. I'm exaggerating stuff, I think. It's not very fast when it comes to turning around here, some of the parts. See how it's going. It's doing good. I should actually plow this field, but I don't feel like doing it because I need to replant it again. It doesn't always turn out the way I wanted it to. So that's a long rant about criticism and constructive criticism on internet. Keep getting these weird requests on both Facebook and Instagram about followers, which if I look at them I go like, this is not a real person. Oh, it's a real person, but this is a scam. they're always using women, lightly dressed women for some reason. And not a friend, an acquaintance of me made a really good reference. So how come it's okay for men to be subjected to that sort of ads that always reference to easy dressed women and porn and naked and sex and that sort of stuff? How come we have to be subjected by that? I think that's interesting. Oh, on another, it's not unrelated, but we have this pretty good, it's good that it's a discussion in the media, but we have the Me Too movement. In Sweden we had that for about a year and a half now, which is good because it's a really good subject we need to address in society. The problem I find with it is that it's about, I worked 16 years in social services, and the Me Too movement, the public discussion that's going on is about where we were 10 years ago, or even more. So it's sort of behind everything, because it's not that simple. It's never that simple. And violence, relationship violence, or domestic violence, domestic, the same there. The public debate is about 10 years after where we were in social services, because we started out that way. Pretty simple. There's violence. Men tend to be violent against women. It shouldn't be that way. We need to stop it. It's men's responsibility and that stuff. And it is a problem. Men's violence against women is a problem. I'm not saying it's not a problem. The thing that happened though is that as soon as you started actually study the phenomena, we found out that it wasn't that simple. I remember studies 10 years ago, even more, 12 years ago maybe, where they basically found that a large proportion of the women that were subject to domestic abuse abused their children. So it's like between 20 and 50%, depending on studies. I can't remember, it's a long time ago, but it was surprisingly large. Maybe it was up to half the women who... Nej, men du kan inte knyta skorna nu, Hannes. Vi ska inte till fotbollsträningen än. Vi
bara testar, det känns så hårt då.
Ja, jag förstår det. Men ja.
Den här har jag klämt för mycket.
Okej, vad i hälen?
Nej, överallt.
Överallt, okej, men... ja, får jag göra klart det här bara, så får jag hjälpa dig sen. Jag behöver göra klart det här, Hannes. Jag kan inte hjälpa dig nu. Hör du mig? Nej, vänta, så jag ska göra klart det här, så kommer jag sen. Gör något annat så länge. Så kommer jag strax och hjälper dig.
Vad ska jag göra när jag ska gå till fotboll?
Vi får ju kolla på det. Vi börjar inte där.
Inte gå med den här.
Nej, okej. Har du några andra fotbollsskor?
De och inga andra skor.
Ja, okej.
De små, de är fula.
Okej. Det ska bli fun. Okay, anyway, so that was my son. So the thing is, the debate basically, well, we know, I think it was half the women that were subject to abuse, domestic abuse, abused their children, which is like a huge proportion, or between 25 and half of it, depending on the studies. And we knew that 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And that was sort of a problem, of course, because that's not the way we wanted it to be. And also, where is it here? That was a problem. but the mass of science we have now is even more problematic. It says basically, this is somewhat simplified because there's lots of studies and some they not all concurrent with each other, but if you look at in half, like 50% of the cases where someone in a relationship is subject to domestic abuse, like beating, physical abuse, the other one is also subject to that. So in half of the cases where we're used to talk about domestic abuse, we know that the people in the relationship, the two persons, are actually abusing each other. So they're both victims and both perpetrators. Half. So every time I come across this, I have to remind myself that in half of the cases is basically every other person I meet, they're also a perpetrator and a victim. So that makes it a lot more problematic. There are recent studies from the UK that says about 6% of female of women in the UK has been subjected to physical abuse during the last 12 months. 6%, that's a lot of people. And about 4% of the men. So you go think that, so yeah, it's a problem because most of the women, but that's not really true either, because this happens in same-sex marriages and same-sex relationships also. But a lot of more women are victims, but the difference between the groups aren't very big. And we have been focused for years on finding. Can I save this? Sorry. Oh, what's it called? This is field 10, 11. So sorry. Field 11. Just need to go and save this. In fertilizing. So that means that we missed a lot of men that were subject to. We have several cases here at work where men are subjected to physical abuse and psychological abuse, for that matter, and we tend to miss that, and we tend to marginalize it, and we tend to reduce the effects of it. So we say that, well, it's more dangerous when a man is subjecting a woman to physical abuse than the other way around, and it's not. It definitely, the science is there, definitely isn't that way. So just let that idea go. It's a problem, and it's a risk for both groups of people, and it's not a difference there. Men can't handle more abuse than women can. The effects are the same. So that's sort of problematic. But we're getting there. The science is getting there. A lot of people go like, this is a problem. This is a male problem that's directed towards women, and I used to agree with that, but nowadays, because of the science and my experience, by the way, also 16 years in social services, is that this is not a male problem. This is a human problem, that we tend to abuse people in our relationships, which leads to problems, both with people being abused and the people abusing and people witnessing the abuse, and that's very problematic. And you have to understand the nuances, the differences. You have to understand the complexity of the problem, because if you just go around defining the problem as a male problem, then the solutions will focus on that. I used to take this as a good example. If I have to go to work in the morning, I get out to my car and it doesn't start. what's my problem? If I define my problem as the car isn't starting, then I'm going to look for solutions to that problem. I'm going to try to fix it, call a garage mechanic or something, call a friend who knows lots about cars. All my solutions will tend to be focused on solving that problem. My car isn't starting. But if I instead define my problem as I need to get to work and my car doesn't start, I need to get to work, then the solutions to that problem will be substantially different. I.e., I will maybe say I can take the bus, can I ride with a friend, a colleague, can I take the bike, bus, train, whatever. There's a lot of different solutions to that problem than there is to the first problem. So how you define the problem will also define what kind of solutions you're looking for and what kind of solutions you will find. So if we go around defining the problem of domestic abuse as a male problem, we will focus on those kinds of solutions, which is fair, but we won't solve the whole problem. And that's a problem in itself. If you really want to stop or reduce the amount of domestic abuse around in society, we need to define the problem correct. And through science and through my experience, this is not a male problem. This is a human problem. Some humans have a tendency to use violence in relationships. Different kind of violence. Some people use physical violence. Some use psychological violence. You would think that the physical violence would be something that males tend to be preoccupied with in more relation, and psychological violence would be what women do, and they do. There's certain, if you look at science, there's some of that is true. At least when it comes to extreme violence, the ones that actually kill people, men tend to be those people more than women. Even though you could kill someone with a knife, of course, but men seem to be overrepresented there, and I buy that, and that's the way it is. But if you look at every other kind of violence, it's more equal. Psychological violence, you can't say that men are more likely or women are more likely to use it. People are likely to use it in relationships. Also look at say, I just want to go and see. Well, I don't need to do this. I need to do this one. Say you tend to, economical violence. I distinctly remember years ago when I worked the summer, I got this case where a woman wanted to divorce her man, basically. And she told him, and they got in this altercation, and he pushed her, which is physical violence. No, I'm not denying that. It's physical violence. So, and that's problematic. What are you doing now? Sometimes this is so stupid. So he pushed her, physical violence, but that's the only thing. They argued and yelled at each other, but they were equally part of that. But he pushed her, so physical violence. Yeah. The problem was that my colleagues stopped asking questions after that, because their bias told them that they had found the problem. Men beat women. This man had beaten his woman. That's the end of the story. I, on the other hand, I'm not saying because it could be because I'm a man myself, or it could be because I had other knowledge, or maybe it's just because I didn't stop being curious. So where my colleagues stopped asking questions because they had the idea that they knew what they had in front of them, they stopped asking questions. I, on the other hand, who had to try to help this man and this woman, actually didn't stop. I just continued asking questions because that was basically my job. And I found something completely different, which my colleagues I told my colleagues, and they completely ignored me and said I was wrong. But I wasn't, and I'm really distinctly sure about that. I wasn't wrong about this. So he had expressed on one occasion a form of physical abuse. That was the only time. I asked the woman repeatedly. He had never done anything like that before, and not since. One time he did this, which she was upset about, which is totally fair. And my colleague stopped asking questions there, which I didn't. I think I did. See, so that one's done. We need to do that one. Just checking which one to do. What I found was that basically they had been together. They were like in the 40s. They've been together since they were 15 or 16 or so. And this man had never had the ability to control his money. All of the money he earned went into their joint account, which she had total control over. So every time he wanted to do something or needed money for something, even with clothing or something small or big, anything, he had to go and ask her for money. And both of them described this pretty straight. I mean, both of them described this same thing, basically. Go on. So he had to go and ask money, and that hadn't been the pattern over the years with this in their relationship. He had never had control of money, and there wasn't a reason. The woman couldn't really explain why. It's not like he's really crap with holding on to money. He keeps spending them, or he has a gambling addiction or anything like that. That wasn't it. She just had control of the money. That's the way they had done it, or she had done it. So I go to my colleagues and I said, well, it's not that simple. It's this. There's a problematic thing here with when it comes to money, and the fact that she controls the money. And in my point of view, that's economical violence. My colleagues were like, oh no, it's not. But it was. And that's one of the things you have to be alert of if you work in social services, that things aren't really that simple usually. Let's go up here so I cover everything. So violence comes in a lot of forms. Material violence. A friend of mine was in a relationship with his wife, and they weren't having a good time. They were having some issues, sexual issues, and he watched porn, and she found out about it, and she got really pissed, which is understandable. The thing she did next, though, was that she took his laptop, which he owned. They had separate economies, so it was his laptop, and she basically threw it into the floor and destroyed it. Now, some people will go like, "Oh, that's not it." I can understand that, but if you switch the genders on them and say that he found out that she did something wrong, which he didn't like, and he destroyed her computer, and you suddenly wouldn't think it's that okay anymore. And here's the problem with gender roles and the way we look at things. Then go and get this one. I missed the button spot here. Is that we tend to marginalize some forms of violence and emphasize other forms of violence, and it's usually even the same. What field am I here? It's field 5. Even if it's the same sort of violence, we will say that it's okay in some certain instances, and that has to do with our values. And sometimes we go like, no, that's not okay. And the problem I have is tend to see that our what gender the perpetrator or the victim has or perceived victim or perceived perpetrator has, tend to be a large part of how we reason about things. From my experience, some people won't agree with this. I'm having probably a mostly male audience. I probably won't have any problem with that, and I don't mind the scrutiny. And this is my experience and from the science I've read during the years, and it is, from my point of view, problematic. Sorry, long rant, long episode. I'm gonna stop there. See if I'll continue next episode. So, science is there. We just don't like the science. But that's why they pay me the big bucks, to keep track of these things and not do moral things. But I don't work with morals. I work with science. What's bad and good for people. Anyway, have a great day. I'm sorry about this episode. Hope you learned something or take something with you. Trying to give you 16 years of social service knowledge here. Anyway, have a great day, everyone. See you soon. Bye bye. If you like this channel, by the way, please subscribe. If you like this episode, please hit the like button, leave a comment or share. Have a great day. Bye bye.